This week, we're talking about Shelby's new 810 horsepower Mustang, an insane modern-day big block, and a new Cummins turbo for hydrogen engines. Plus, the only thing better than an engine swap CRX is a twin-engine CRX. But first, some gnarly crashes from the 24 Hours of Daytona. Welcome to the Big Three. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Nolan Sykes. This week, I'm joined, as always, by Joe Weber.
Hello.
And Bart Bidlingmeyer.
Happy to be here.
Sounds like it.
I am. I didn't say I'm ecstatic, but I'm really happy.
You guys have a decent weekend?
Yeah.
A serviceable weekend?
An acceptable the Bills weekend? Didn't win, so I'm a little bummed about that. Yeah, I'm a Bill Mafia guy.
Yeah. I feel like that tracks.
Yeah. If there's anyone to crash through a table at Donut, it's me.
That's right. Crash through the hood of a Civic, at least.
It's crazy that Buffalo is part of New York, because doesn't it feel like Ohio?
I've never been, so I can't make that
state.
It is a big state.
It's not. Yeah, it's by no means. Oh, I don't want to insult anybody in Buffalo. I was going to say it's not in New York. I think with this qualifier, I can say this. In New York, it's not the most metropolitan of cities, but it's a hell of a town. I've been there.
Yeah. I love a mid-sized city.
Yeah.
With like underrated public transport, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Like Milwaukee. Love Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, I wouldn't really use transport as like a...
Maybe not the best.
You don't need it.
No, you don't. But it was very walkable where we were at. That was nice. Anyway, this is a car podcast. We're not concerned with buses and walking places, right? No.
Right.
Hell no.
Hell no. Before we get into our main story this week, we want to note that in our last episode, we talked about Ram CEO Tim Kuniskis teasing the return of a smaller Dodge truck like the Dakota. And guess what? Wouldn't you know it, a day after that episode dropped, we got confirmation that the Dakota is officially happening. So we give it up.
We did it.
We really turned the screws on Tim Kuniskis.
Yes, we did. We put it to him.
Hell yeah.
He heard us saying that we thought he had some clickbait things to say, and that made him turn the dial.
Yeah, he's like,
you want clickbait?
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it, dude.
Yep.
Don't test me.
Yeah, he said, you're going to make fun of the Brotherhood on your show? How's this? Boom.
I don't think we really made fun of the Brotherhood, though. I think
we've been making fun of the Brotherhood for 7 months.
Yeah.
Brotherhood of the Traveling Rams.
That's pretty good. That's good. Oh, Dodge is actually looking for new brand ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call them like badassadors or something like that on the website.
That's pretty good.
You should apply, Bart.
I'll do it.
Yeah, because you came up with that. No problem.
I don't know if that's what they're looking for, but yeah.
The Brotherhood of the Traveling Rams.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
The crossover between that and the movie, the Traveling Pants, is like insane.
They're trying to break into new markets, so like you might have the keys for that.
I'll hit them up.
Become their new badassador.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a great ass though, so I wouldn't say
a nice assador is what you'd call me.
Yeah, nice assador. Stout.
What is happening? The 24 Hours of Daytona took place over the weekend, and there is plenty to talk about. The racing weekend got off to a rough start. It kicked off on Friday with a Spec Miata race, and 5 seconds after the green flag was thrown, nearly 3/4 of the field was involved in a massive accident. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, they're not going very fast.
Now, he just peeled off.
Yeah.
And
that's about 4
now
seconds.
They're about, one. Yep, they're coming around the turn. And then boom.
Yeah.
And the second row gets taken out, and then people are trying to dodge it. There's some flames I saw on the track real quick.
Huge flames.
Smoke, flames.
A lot of smoke.
And there's about 23 cars that
they're all like ping
peel
pongs.
off.
Yep.
That sucks because, dude, I'm sure a lot of those teams...
You're waiting forever for the 24 hour.
Yeah, you're waiting. First of all, it's the season opener.
Yeah.
And second of all, like, how many of those teams can actually afford to rebuild a car? Like,
well,
they
they're
all have
Miatas.
sponsors.
I know they're Miata and they're sponsored, but like, there's probably a few of those that.
Well, some of these cars,
their season's going to be severely affected.
Some of these cars were fixed up and back on the track.
Oh,
yeah.
So
okay, well that's good.
Right.
Damn.
I mean, it is gnarly.
Dang.
And there's nothing if you're in the field. There's nothing you can do about it.
Dang, that sucks.
Yeah.
It's like an iRacing lobby. Dang, that sucks, man.
It reminds me of when we went to see the Clash at the Coliseum, which was a NASCAR race at the quarter-mile Coliseum track in the USC Coliseum. And I'd say the most laps they got before a red flag happened was like 2 the entire race. And so the entire race, you're just like, all right, another red flag. Bubba Wallace just, crashed out.
It's not it's a fun experience, but from a race spectating perspective, not the most fun race, I guess.
Yeah, it sucks to like immediately be like, we got to wait 10 minutes for them to clear the debris.
So back at Daytona, supposedly this is the biggest accident in Spec Miata history. Not surprising. It was a huge incident. But luckily, the race did end in a super close finish of 0.038 seconds between first and second place, which is pretty amazing. The main event at Daytona, the 24 Hours of Daytona, was just as colorful. There was a massive crash. On a restart around the 8-hour mark, the number 40 Cadillac loses control as the pack enters the infield and comes to a stop just on the other side of the pit wall. It causes a big pileup. Let's take a look at that.
All right, so these cars are going way faster.
Damn. Oh, no. God.
Yeah. So the Cadillac hit a wall, bounced back onto the track, and then caused a crash. That's got to be terrifying.
And it was at night. This was when I remember they talked to the driver, and he said that he just couldn't see and crashed because his son in the back seat turned on the dome light.
During a very entertaining fight for the lead of the GTD Pro class, a lapped BMW driver, Augusto Farfus, was blocking the Corvette driver Tommy Milner from catching his BMW teammate who was leading the class. Tommy Milner eventually pushes the BMW wide to complete the overtake. Later during the lap, while traveling around 180 miles per hour on the oval, Milner stuck his hand out the window to flip off Farfus.
To flip him off.
Flarf you, Farfus.
This was a great move, though. It was one of those. I was watching this live, and it's one of those times where you just know how frustrated he's getting.
Yeah,
and you're like, can he not get by?
Bumps him wide, boom.
Just bumps wide, comes through. Yeah.
So dude, you can't. You're a lap down. You're not really racing for position.
Yeah,
that's pretty messed up.
And it was fun. It was a great move to get through. Just screw it, get out of here. And then, the bird at 180.
Yeah, this is an iconic shot now. That's awesome. Reigning IMSA team champion Porsche Penske took the overall win at Daytona this weekend. You said you watched it live, Bart. It was entertaining all the way through.
I think it's a cool race because you have different classes, super talented drivers, and there's to the point about pushing a lapped guy out of the way. There's this element of everybody's trying to do their best, but you've got to look out for the other classes, and I think that's a pretty cool, cool aspect to it.
I really like IMSA racing now after going to the Road Atlanta one last year. If you haven't checked out our interview with Felipe Nasser, he ended up winning the championship last year. Very humble dude, and he continues to kick ass this year.
Switching it up a bit, Shelby has a new Mustang, and it does not disappoint. Last week, the legendary tuning shop announced an all-new GT350 after a 5-year hiatus. Let's check this thing out.
We're going to have to clean Nolan's pants after this one.
Wait, why do we have to do that?
That's the rule.
It's in my contract. So a little bit different kind of vibe than the previous GT350, especially with that kind of raised spoiler there. There's the GT350R, the racing version there. But yeah, this guy is a supercharged 5.0 liter V8. It also has some other changes over the Dark Horse trim that this thing is based on. It's got a vented hood. It's got a big old wing or spoiler on the back. It's got all new suspension and exhaust. And luckily, the GT350 is offered in both a manual and automatic transmission. If you don't like rowing gears yourself, Shelby's going to build 562 of these things in 2025 because that's how many they built in 1965. I think that's the reason. Mustang and Shelby, they really love harkening back. They love harkening.
Heritage.
Well, that's a good thing to bring up at a Mustang meet with some other Mustang guys.
Oh yeah.
While your pants are in the wash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you talking?
What? Yeah. Well, you're
sorry. That was a reference.
The pants that cover your Mustang meat.
That cover my Mustang meat.
Yeah.
I'm starting to miss my Mustang a little bit.
Yeah.
Every time I see a black one, and I'm like, is that Nolan?
Like it's over in Phoenix.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Stained dry.
That's right. So like I said, 562 of these things, harkening back. The price starts at an eye-watering $109,000, which is a bit more than the previous one.
Yeah, I'd say.
By a lot.
It looks sick, though.
It does look cool.
The hood, sometimes you look at things, you're like, it's a bit much. Mm-hmm. Everything on this looks gorgeous.
It's probably the cheapest car you can buy that has over 800 horsepower, though, other than, the Demon's not being produced anymore, but think about it.
I've thought about it, and I think you're right. Yeah.
So if you think about it like that, it's pretty cheap.
Interesting. Yeah, so there's also going to be a more exclusive GT350R. Like I said, this is the track version. It'll have a roll cage and more race-specific parts. It's going to make 830 horsepower. Other changes and pricing are unknown at the moment, and only 36 of those will be built this year.
Put your application in right now.
Yeah. You know what they should have put in this new Shelby?
What, Nolan?
The latest 7.3-liter Godzilla V8 built by the guys over at Willis Performance. This thing is making 984 horsepower, all motor. That means no nitrous, no
naturally
power
aspirated?
adders. Yeah, naturally aspirated, Joe.
Damn, it revs to over 8,000 too? That's crazy.
Yes, and that's with a 472 cubic inch displacement. That's 7.3 liters for Europeans.
I would daily drive that.
Yeah, that's almost as much Mountain Dew as you drink in a day.
It is. It's my doctor says I needs to stop. But I won't.
It is crazy. I think you always hear the old school, there's no replacement for displacement. And it's like, well, for years we've known there's replacement for displacement.
Yeah.
But
it
then
just sounds cool.
But then you get a 7.3 liter but it's like, well, sure, there's maybe another way to do this, but we're going to do 7.8 liter, but we're also going to rev it to 8,000.
That's crazy. So, yeah. The stroke has been increased on this thing over stock. It's also got a massive intake manifold to suck down all that air, make all that horsepower. This thing is badass. I would say look, we actually mentioned the Godzilla last week. And it's still a little slept on, a little underappreciated. I do think that's because it is still a crate engine that is somewhat expensive.
Yeah.
And also only comes in like a select few Ford products. So it's not like the Coyote that came in like the F-150 and the Mustang. They're super available if you want to like pluck one out of a junkyard somewhere or something like that. But it's still a very, very impressive engine.
And to your point about how much the Coyote is coming, you'll be able to find those. And I think that's when you're saying, are we sleeping on the Godzilla? It's like, maybe, but you're not going to find it in a junkyard. You're not going to find.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You said that there was a reason that you put an LS in the Ranger instead of a Coyote.
Well, oh yeah. I mean, we did that because the LS was a proven platform in the application that we were in the Ranger use case, I guess.
Yeah.
Like in terms of desert racing, there wasn't like a lot of support equipment, like racing oil pans and desert racing radiators, desert racing, not the radiators, engine specific.
Is there more support for like the EcoBoost
for desert racing?
Yeah.
No, like LS is the platform of choice. People know it works, and we wanted the best chance of success at the Nora. We didn't want to break down and have some weird engine issue or like break something that nobody had like parts for in the back of their truck or whatever.
That's another thing is like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere and you ran into this issue when you broke 6 alternators or something and you're in the middle of nowhere. You had to find, or Heber found a dude who found a different dude.
We bought like all of the alternators that were available in the immediate area.
The stretch, the entire stretch of the race.
Yeah.
I mean, it is surprising because the Godzilla is a little cheaper than the LS and Coyote when they make similar power,
Brand new.
About
$1,000.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is not something you're going to find in a junkyard, though, which you could with an LS or a Coyote.
I mean, we have, let's see, our the low car out there that has a LQ9 like junkyard LS. I mean,
it's also the Godzilla's leaner, right? It's more narrow.
It is. It's narrower. Yeah.
You could fit it into more.
Yeah. Back to the 7.3 Godzilla. This thing can handle boost or nitrous, whatever you want to throw at it. In fact, Brian Wolfe at Willis has built supercharged Godzillas that make 1,650 horsepower on a stock block.
And run on radiation.
Yeah. Godzilla is narrower than the Coyote, meaning it can fit into older Fords if you want to keep everything under the blue oval umbrella. Like you can fit it in a Fox body chassis.
You can fit it in a Navigator.
Yeah, sure. If you wanted to do that. Yeah.
It's awesome that it's naturally aspirated. Just makes 950 horsepower.
That's pretty sick. Pretty cool.
That's pretty sick. What would you drop this in?
Ooh.
A Starion.
Well, that's funny. I met a guy. There's this dude. I think his name's John Lazarak. He built a Starion with it has like a LS 7 or something.
What?
You've seen it? Though?
I've ridden it. He took it to an autocross one time at Auto Club and let me ride in it. This is back when I was still, I think, in college and stuff. But yeah, nice guy. And that car was badass, dude. Yeah.
Did you rode in the autocross with him? Or
just took
Yeah. Was that scary?
Hell yeah.
Like I can only imagine what that moves like.
It's great. Like when you, I mean, this is like autocross is sick, but like, people are so chill and will like let you ride with them on it. And like when a built car like that, like he made his own like carbon fiber dash and stuff and like carbon fiber interior pieces and like figured out how to make all the aero elements on his car. And he was just out testing it that day. But like, yeah, when you ride with someone who like knows their car really well and it's also an animal, it's so much fun. It's so scary. Especially since like that autocross in particular was like set out on just on the infield parking lot. So there's like no grip. It's just like parking lot pavement, super dusty and just like it was so fun. It was super cool.
Concrete marbles.
Yeah, exactly. What would I put in this?
That's such a crazy vehicle for an LS to be in.
I know. It's a really badass ride.
This is a weird one, but I think I would put it in a Lincoln LS.
Oh,
I wouldn't mind that.
I think they made a 5-speed version.
Is that the sedan?
It's the sedan that I think it had a Jaguar V8 in it.
That's right.
This is probably way more
They're not
reliable.
bad looking cars.
They are
Dude,
looking.
They're nice inside.
Yeah.
My cousin had 2 of them.
Really?
Yeah, he had 2 of them. The first one, his kid spilled like a quart of milk in and he never cleaned it up. And so just like baking in the sun for 6 months.
I love the idea of like, it's like, not going to do me any good to clean that up. I'm just going to get a new car.
Dude, I think when I first started at Donut, we both had a Impreza.
Yeah.
And mine was leased. I was like, I'm going to lease. I don't know why I leased it. But like the first month I was working at the NFL as well. And they would cater every game. And so there's like this huge tray of Jamaican pork.
You're making me crazy with this story.
I gave this guy a ride home and he's like, had this huge tray of pork. And I was like, all right, but like make sure it's secure. And then like halfway through the ride home, I was like, it smells like pork in my car. And I dropped him off and it had spilled about a gallon of pork
juice,
fat in my back seat of a brand new car.
Your lease on.
My lease on.
Oh, God.
But the detailing company that was over by our old office, they took care of it. It was like $150 to take care of, and it didn't smell at all. So shout out to those French guys.
So wait, you were leasing that car?
Yeah.
Do you remember that you used to like warm that thing up?
Yeah.
If you're leasing it, why?
Because the guy told me to warm it up. I don't know. I was pretty.
You'd be like, all right, Joe, we got to go somewhere. Let's take your car, and then no problem. All right, fire the Impreza up, and then we were there for like 3 minutes waiting for that temperature light to.
Yeah, but if we got like a press GTR, it'd be like,
and it's a leased car. You weren't even gonna keep it.
I had plans to buy it, and then I didn't.
Right, lease to own.
Yeah, I never had a Subaru or boxer engine before, and he was like, wait till that light goes off.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I took care of that car.
You did. You did take care of it, Joe. You did.
Every other car.
We drove that up to Gorman that one time when we rode dirt bikes with Jerry.
Yeah, and there was a miscommunication where like, oh, you guys are getting dinner? And then we got there and like, they're like, we ate dinner. And then there was only whiskey and like protein bars.
Yeah.
That's funny. But it's also like the communication of like, oh, are you guys getting dinner? Yeah, we'll get dinner.
All right.
For us. Oh, no, we didn't get dinner. We got,
Yeah, and then I had to like, it was like all-wheel drive technically. It's probably, mostly front-wheel drive. But then I had to crawl over all this stuff. And I realized just how low it was after that.
Because we were scraping on a bunch of roots and stuff.
Yeah.
Funny, like they're good in concept, but it's also like you have to be like in your head, you just have to get over like, if I'm going to do the things I want to do in this car, I'm going to beat the shit out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So while Willis is keeping the big block alive, Cummins is looking towards the future.
Which is weird to say.
Recently, Cummins launched a turbocharger built for hydrogen combustion engines. This industry-first design is built primarily for use on semi-trucks over in Europe, which already has commercial use hydrogen vehicles on the road.
It was worth it for Cummins to develop this because the European trucking industry is using it.
They take emissions much more seriously over there, I guess is the long way of what we're trying to, or the short way of what we're trying to say here.
And we are beholden to daddy oil.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't real on it. Well, who knows what it is, but Instagram's algorithm served.
Oh, everything on Instagram's real.
Yeah. But it was like scientists discover limitless reserve of hydrogen deep that could power the world for the next.
Yeah, it's called water.
So these turbochargers that Cummins has developed, it works like any other turbocharger we know, but the design for hydrogen has some unique challenges and benefits. Since water is a byproduct of hydrogen, the turbo had to be designed to handle water passing through the hot side of the turbocharger. Cummins says they also had to design a variable geometry turbo with, quote, bespoke aerodynamic design to better suit hydrogen, which is much less dense than gasoline or diesel. But hydrogen being less dense means that a turbo is extra beneficial when it comes to extracting the most power from the fuel, because now we can cram even more of it into the cylinder because it's not as dense. Yeah. It's only a matter of time before the tech will trickle down into all sorts of applications from road use to race cars. Hopefully here in the U.S. I don't know. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I like having different kinds of propulsion, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's all cool. I like it all. Speaking of all, what's better than a K-swapped CRX? How about a CRX with 2 engines in it? Yeah. It's a 1984 CRX that was built by Car and Driver back in the mid-'80s. It has 2 1.8-liter 4 cylinders from mid-'80s Accords. One is connected to front wheels and the other is mounted behind the seats and connected to the rear wheels. It has a combined 202 horsepower and 216 foot-pounds of torque. For context, a Corvette from the same year made 205 horsepower.
It's really funny that 2 engines can make 200 horsepower.
Yeah.
But I love CRXs though. This one looks really sick too.
It's a really nice example. The car is actually on Bring a Trailer right now. It's also the second version of this build. The original used 2 of the original 1.5 liter 4 cylinders, which were swapped for the 1.8 liter engines after.
I've met the guy who owns it.
Yeah.
He's got a knowledge and appraises weird cars, but he's just had this car and he's loved it.
Cool.
And it's in gorgeous shape.
It's so nice.
But he's like, it's not great. It's like, doesn't make any sense. That's why I love it. And it's got gauges. The gauges run down the center console.
Whoa.
And so it's got 2 tachometers.
That's awesome.
And then all your temps and oil temp. And he's like,
Jay Leno drove it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jay was like, wow.
Yeah. But I think this is the funniest thing about it to me is that they're like, we're going to do this crazy thing. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if we could make 200 horsepower?
Yeah.
Right. So that's one thing. And then they get two engines and they're like, oh, we just made it a lot heavier.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, can you send us the bigger engine and maybe the 18 more horsepower would make it.
Yeah. So the second 1.5 liter only improved the stock quarter mile time by 1.4 seconds, making at a blistering 16 seconds flat. with the two 1.8 liter engines, the quarter mile time improved to 14.5 seconds.
Not worth it.
Which was almost the same as like S197 Mustang.
Okay.
GT. So there you go.
Yeah. And it looks great. Like there are flares on this thing that are really cool.
It looks awesome. Yeah.
And the wheels, like everything about it is pretty bespoke.
Kanji characters on it. There's a side exhaust.
Oh, that's cool.
The white always looks great on a CRX. I learned how to drive on a CRX.
Really?
Yeah, a red one that was that had to it needed to be pop started.
Yeah.
And
wait, what? You had to like push start it every time?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. I think my friend got it for $400 and drove it for like 6 years.
And never turned it over. Just had to push start it every time.
Always park it
on
a hill.
Not every time.
Always park it on a hill.
Intermittent. It worked once in a while.
That sucks, dude. Yeah. My boy Dalton also had a red CRX at a time. Dalton was one of those guys that like always not had to buy a new car, but like, you know, you'd buy like a $1,000 car and drive it for a year and then it broke, and it's like
cheaper. I had to get another $1,000 car.
That was me for a long time.
Cheaper to just buy another car, and the CRX is one of those. And like he was like doing MMA training at the time, and like always had his like fight gear like in the back in a bag, and just the car smelled like yo. According to Car and Driver, the project came from boredom with the cars of the era. They actually approached Honda with the idea, and Honda gave them everything they needed to get the job done for both builds. That's crazy.
That's can you imagine that happening nowadays?
I mean, Hoonigan, they built the there's the Ridgeline with the IndyCar motor that Hoonigan built.
Oh, that's true.
With Honda
Do you mean,
support.
can you imagine a print magazine being cool now?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant? Or?
My eyes are half open right now.
You have a rough weekend with the baby?
Not really. Just like,
how old is Wyatt now?
7 months.
7 months.
He went through.
Have things cooled down a little bit with him?
Things will cool down, and then another thing will pop up. And it was separation anxiety was the latest thing. So he was like screaming for.
Did you Ferberize him?
Dude, I try. I can only go like 8 minutes before I'm like, oh, my baby. Yeah. It Ferberizes when you just let them cry themselves to sleep.
Oh, I thought it was when you surround them with Furbies.
Yeah. That's Furby eyes.
That keeps them up.
Oh, okay.
That's Furby eyes.
Furby.
Yeah. Also a technique.
Yeah.
You know, there's no wrong way to parent. That's what I've learned. It's why everybody turns out fine.
Yeah. Famously, everybody turns out fine. Yeah.
I got to bring this up because this is episode 46 or E46, but I saw an E46 build these guys were doing on Instagram where they wanted to make it a true backseat driver, and so they like took out the front seat, they took out the B pillar and made a gigantic door, and then like extended the steering wheel and used like door hinges to extend the like brake and throttle. It just looked so dangerous.
I have to look at that. That's where the peak, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy stuff that people do to cars.
Yeah. But this isn't the craziest thing someone has considered doing to a Honda. That honor belongs to Honda themselves. This past week, it was reported there's an internal debate going on at Honda over whether or not they should bring the Type R badge to an EV.
Call it something else.
Their head of BEV development, Toshihiro Akiwa, told Auto Express, quote, "A battery and motor have different characteristics, so we can't come up with something exactly the same as before. As an EV, how can we provide the joy of driving? We haven't given up, of course, but it's not just about power. It's about the sound, vibration, acceleration, and the human experience. These are the joys of driving."
So Hyundai figured it out, right? There's like a fun mode or
there's like drift mode and like stuff
mode.
Like grin shift. Grin shift.
Grin shift.
Justin and Jared drove the Ioniq 5N.
They said it was fun.
They said it was fun for an EV. Like, yes. And Justin,
there's always that
qualification,
I think.
Justin, I don't think is the most like unbiased commentator when it comes to EVs. He doesn't like them, but you know, when it came to that car, he did like it, but like I mean, the consensus was like it still weighs like 5,000 pounds, and you can definitely tell it chews through tires like crazy, and you're still battling against physics. And I think like, you know, I've heard some inside information from various manufacturers about their struggles with EV sports car design, and like the weight is still the biggest issue. It's the batteries weigh a lot and like throw off the dynamics of the car, and that's until they figure out how to make these batteries super light. That's going to be the main hurdle to making something like an electric Type R. You know,
I'd also say though, this is the type of conversation you want to hear execs having. Of there's a way to do this right. We're going to find it. We're not there yet, but I think it's possible. And I'm going to take all of these other things into consideration that make driving fun and responsive. And
it's cool that they're thinking about it
with the car.
I don't think the letter is the biggest issue. Like, like you can call it something other than Type R.
But what I think he's saying is we want to make an EV Type R.
Yeah.
We're not going to use the letter till we're there. So, so you know what I mean? But which is then the question, like, well, is it possible?
Which I respect Honda a lot for in this case, because like there's a lot of manufacturers that'll put their sporty badge on cars that don't deserve it necessarily. Like BMW, you know, like you have your M3s and your M5s, but then you also have your M340i. That's a great car. But you know, there's some of their other models have like the small M badge, and they're just kind of like diluting what that M means.
Yeah, if it or like Nismo. Nismo was like the appearance package.
Well, it kind of was, but they tuned this. They had different suspension and stuff. I will say the new Nismo Z is a great car. It's really fun. Like Justin and I took one up to Stunt Road a couple years ago now when they lent it to us. But I stand by like that Z Nismo is might be more fun than the Supra. I think the Supra takes itself very seriously and is clearly meant for a track. But like most of the time, you're not driving on a track. Like the Supra will destroy the Z at the track, but the Z is more fun to drive on the road.
These are fun cars. You know, they get shit on a lot. But the second you're in one, you're like,
they're really fun.
They're worth getting shit on.
They are fun. Like I would,
I mean, like I don't mean like keep shitting on them because they suck. I mean, I will still drive one even though everyone's shitting on them.
Yeah,
you know, like they are fun.
Yeah. Anyway, getting back to this,
it's always
Honda's not watering down the Type R badge. Like they could have taken the easy road a couple 10 years ago. It's like putting that Type R badge on SUVs, on the Accord, you know, just to like make their brand seem more fun and like, oh yeah, all these cars, they're race cars because they have this badge on it. They haven't done that. You know, it's only the Civic Type R, a car that absolutely deserves it. I love the FL5 Type R is one of my favorite cars. It is so much fun and also just like a nice car. We had the Type R. We were shooting a video that versus our EG, and like that was the most scared I've ever been in the passenger seat because Jer had just come off of his campaign of driving the Type R.
Oh yeah,
in that Skip Barber series. So Jer knows how to drive, but we're up in Puma Road, which is really great, and just like we were getting so close to these rocks jutting out, and like getting to see what that thing could do. I was just like, this is one of the coolest cars, most fun cars ever. And it's only the Civic that has that badge. And to your point, Bart, about like manufacturers, some of them are like waiting for the right time to make electric sports cars. I think this sounds like Honda's waiting for it to be the technology to be there, you know?
We have a past guest coming up with Shigeru Uehara, who's like the godfather of Type R. He helped develop the NSX, and they are way more precious about using that letter on cars than, you know, other car performance brands.
I'll say though, in my neighborhood, you know, South Bay, there's a lot of Nismo and Type R badges and TRDs on cars that are not. So,
I love.
You want to talk about diluting the brand?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Nismo maybe have corrected themselves, but for a long time, like 2017 to 2021, they were slapping it on a lot of things that didn't deserve it.
You could get like Nismo, like a Nismo Frontier or something like that, right? But I think in Nissan's case, when matters, like a Nismo Z better live up to people's expectations. I think it does. I think it's a really fun car.
Yeah.
And yeah, Honda, I mean, dude, when it comes to at least on the JDM side of the industry, like Type R right now might have the most cachet of any of like the sport badges
because they took care of it.
Yeah, because they took care of it. Exactly.
Kind of off topic, but I was scrolling through Instagram this weekend and I saw BC Moto's Prologue. Have you seen that thing? It was one of the only new cars where I was like, wait, what is that? And I'm like zooming in. He put a Prologue on bags and put like rotiform aero discs on it, and it looks so sick.
Oh shit. Yeah. Okay, wheels, dude. Man. That is sick.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into that.
He makes cars. You remember awesome. When Billy Madison, like, well, I'd never seen a green duck, so I wanted to draw a green duck. Like that's like he makes cars which is like, well, I've never seen this car, so I wanted to make this car, and they're sick.
For all of you guys watching on YouTube, let us know down in the comments what you think about an electric Type R. Do you think it could work? I personally, like, again, I think once the weight comes down and people are sold on the, like, if an electric sports car feels like a sports car should, I think it can be done. Yeah, no, I'll leave that at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leave it, Nolan.
All right. Speaking of leaving, it's time for us to go. That's our show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, check out our other podcast, our automotive history show, Past Gas. Follow us at Donut Podcasts and our personal accounts. You can follow me at Nolan J. Sykes on Instagram and Blue Sky. I'm trying to make more posts over on Blue Sky. Problem is, I'll type some out and be like, nobody wants to hear this, and delete it. So I'm trying to get over that. You can follow Joe at Joe G. Weber and Bart at Bids Bardo. Go ahead and give us a 5-star review or some constructive criticism down on your podcast platform of choice. Big thank you to the crew. We got Edgar Grajeda, Audrey Holden, and Mark Schroeder on the 1s and 2s, dude. Wearing the cans over there. We will see you next time. He's wearing the cans like the guitarist in Linkin Park did for some reason. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.